Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, the Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be comparing the FV217 Badger to the Object 263. These two vehicles boast the exact same reload, sitting at the exact same alpha and DPM, meaning that both of these tanks are tied for the most damage per minute in Tier 10, sitting at 3,856. However, that's about the only similarities these vehicles carry, because the Badger sits at 10 degrees gun depression, while this vehicle sits at 4. This tank goes 50, the Badger goes 35. There are a lot of differences between these two tanks. That's what we're going to be breaking into in today's video, and talking about, in my opinion, which of the two is a better option. We're going to start off with the 263. Let's break into its armor profile to begin with, and let's see what's good and what's bad. The upper plate of the 263 is upwards of 400 millimeters thick, which is actually amazing. That means even if you shoot HE at this thing's upper plate, you're actually going to deal like 0 damage. Pretty dang insane. And even the superstructure on this vehicle, as you can see, is very strong. The mantlet being upwards of 350, and even if you load heat, you can't pen that mantlet because it's actually spaced armor now. After Wargaming buffed it, you'll see there's this little bar rate back here, which is 90 millimeters thick, and that's not actually the mantlet. As you can see, it's a little bit disconnected, meaning that you actually cannot shoot heat through this vehicle anymore, which is amazing. As well, if you're using enhanced armor, just slightly using your gun depression, that upper plate becomes upwards of 397 on the superstructure, and yeah, 500 on this part, which means you'll never ever pen this vehicle hull down in any Tier 10 heavy. That just showcases where the 263 is such a strong vehicle. However, I should point out that tank destroyers will butter through the 263, so example, the FV217 Badger loading premium, yeah, it will cut through it. Now that is with Cali. If you're not running Cali, you won't, but you can see because it does fire APCR as a premium round, it does cut straight through that mantlet, so do keep that in mind. Overall, the 263's armor profile is incredibly strong frontally. Side on, it's not so strong. It's 117, 104 millimeters thick, and the rear, ooh, only 52 millimeters thick. So basically, the way I say about the 263 is if you don't keep your frontal protection towards the enemies, and even then if you don't hide your lower plate, you're going to be absolutely smoked. And another thing to point out very quickly about the 263 is its superstructure. If you aim at this, I guess you call it the engine deck, you can pen it very easily. It's only 108 millimeters thick, really, on flat ground, as you can see. So even if you're at this angle here, you can very easily pen that engine deck and just overmatch the vehicle. So do keep that in mind. That is a very big weakness when it comes to the 263, and something that can be very easily exploited if you do end up face-hugging enemy opponents. Now, we are on a pretty poor map for this vehicle. This is Dynasty's Pearl, a map that doesn't require much gun depression, but also does require some gun depression if we go towards Seaside, which you can see I'm going to do because that's where most of my team is pushing. Now, I'm not too worried because the 263 has so much DPM and mobility, it can get away with not really needing the gun depression most of the time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push over towards medium tide and try and support my mediums. You'll see that it goes pretty fast, 48, 46 kilometers per hour right now, which is pretty dang great. You can't really do that in a lot of Tier 10 tank destroyers, especially one that has 4,000 DPM on the dot. So let's continue making our way through. It looks like the enemy's actually gone towards base A, which is a bit of a weird thing. You know, we got the TVP already flanking our TVP. I'm not sure if the enemy mediums are still over here. It doesn't look like they are, but I'm going to keep on using that mobility and keep flanking the enemy team, because if we can get behind, you know, a slower vehicle like the E100 and absolutely smash them with our DPM, that would be very, very good. So I'm going to take the wide route here. I like going wide because that means if there is an E100 crossing, usually they're going to be in the middle lane. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to cut through the middle lane, and there you go. We have the Type 68 at least, and aiming, and fire. Boom, nice shot into the rear of that Type 68. That's one shell, 3 more seconds left. We're going to go for another shell, and boom. That's already 900 hit points we've taken off of the enemy, and there's a pretty nice bounce as well. Let's reload again. 1,300 hit points we've taken off. Oh my, this gun is just insane. 3, 2, 1, and fire. There you go. Long live the Type 68. That player's already dead. Now we're going to drive over this hill and hopefully start shooting at vehicles like this TVP. I'm definitely going to focus this TVP first. There's one very easy shell into his vehicle, and then we got like our Sheridan and everybody else over here about to absolutely slap him. So, boop. There you go. Long live the TVP. That was just a bad move. That player literally threw his tank away for no reason apart from, haha, I'm going to die, because I don't know what else to say about that. Let's just make our way through. We got the Waffenträger Panzer IV, and we got the E5. We got a very easy HE into the rear of the C5, so let's go for that. Boom. Nice 556 tap right there. Let's reload again. 3 more seconds left. We got the Waffenträger off to the side as well. Also got the Patton. Pretty easy shot into the Patton, as you can see. And with that, we're up to 3,400 damage. We're already up to 3,400. I mean, just think about that. The DPM on this tank is insane. And again, we're just going to keep on going. We still got plenty of hit points left to deal towards the enemy team. We got the Sheridan right here, who, well, we had the Sheridan right here. Let me rephrase that statement. Let's start going for this E100 because that's still a lot of free damage. There you go. Nice 427 tap right there. Still got our adrenaline running. That's over 4,500 DPM. There you go. 501 tap into the E100. Now we're going to get a tap, well, looks like again into the enemy E100 because the E5's dead. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Object 263. Just an insane ability to dump out damage. Because you have that mobility, because you've got that insane traverse speed, the 263 just has this insane capability of driving non-stop towards the enemy. And because of that, we were literally able to deal 5,000 damage and get out of mastery with literally almost zero effort put in. I've always loved the 263, and I think after the latest update when Wargaming buffed its penetration on the standard, it has made it even stronger because previously its pen on the standard was good, but it wasn't great. And now that it's sitting at 300 millimeters, it's actually really good standard pen, meaning that you don't have to load to the premium reserves really ever unless you're aiming at like the turret of an E100, but at that point, even your premium's not going to cut through it. So as we saw, the 263 is really just a super strong tank in general. It has the ability to push, and not really care. And not only that game did I play and do pretty well in, but even this loss was 4,500 I did. We had lost, unfortunately, down the base capture because my AMX, well, didn't think that capping bases was important. But either way, we did pretty good and showcased where the 263 is just such an amazing vehicle. Now, I should point out we didn't get shot at that much in that battle, but that doesn't take away from its very good armor. It is pretty good at getting bounces as long as you do hide that lower plate. Now, the FV217 Badger is a vehicle known for its frontal protection, as we can see here. Now, the Badger does have weak spots. You'll notice as soon as you're aiming up on its superstructure, it's pretty weak, because it is an angle after all, but angles are great. So on flat ground, the Badger's upper plate's around 330, 340 millimeters thick, which means that, well, 263 can't pen it with premium rounds, but that doesn't mean everything can't. For example, if we get out TDs, yeah, the upper plate becomes an absolute butter. And even if we were to get out heavies, let's say like, you know, an E5, which has pretty good heat pen, it'll also pretty easily cut through the upper plate, especially if it just uses slight gun depression on the Badger. So do keep that in mind. While the Badger is very strong on its frontal protection, it can very easily be cut through. Now, when we take a look at the overall armor of the Badger, basically upper superstructure, incredibly powerful, lower plate, very weak. It's 230 millimeters thick, but it does have a very troll spot all the way in this corner here. You'll notice about 267. So if we got out a vehicle without great pen and we try to angle it, you'll notice right here that, yeah, these little cutouts are very, very thick compared to what is normal. So that is one thing that can actually get some troll bounces is these little side spots. So shoot the center of the Badger's lower plate. When it comes to side scraping capabilities, actually pretty good. After Wargaming buffed the side armor on the Badger, you'll see it's very good. Over 280 millimeters on that side armor, which is actually insane. As well here, pretty good. And it's really just when you get towards the actual side of the Badger at 170 and 132 that it becomes very weak. In the rear, ooh, only 40 millimeters thick. It's pretty hard to get worse than the 52 millimeters of rear armor that the Object 263 carries, but, well, the Badger somehow managed to do that. I will say, one of the things I do enjoy about the Badger is that it's actually not slow. The AT series vehicles like the AT-15, the AT-2, the AT-7, or the Tortoise as well, are all very slow. And judging that this tank should have been the tier 10 on the AT line, it is a very similar comparison where they are all slow, but this one actually goes 35, which is quite a bit faster, almost double the speed of the 20 that the normal AT series vehicles go. It allows this tank to actually get into the front line, and it's great because I do like being able to get into the front line before my entire team is dead. Now, the enemy team has a T110E3, they have a AMX-50B, and a 60 TP when it comes to heavies. Not the strongest of heavies on their lineup, but they do have some pretty good heavies in general. Like the 60 is a tank I got to be careful about. It can outtrade me, but I can also outtrade the 60 if we just get the opportunity to pen an extra shell. So that's kind of how it works. I'm going to be a little careful here, but it looks like the majority of the enemy team is actually pushing off towards the other side of the map. There you go. We got the 60 right in front of us. Very easy shot into his vehicle for 463. And with that, I'm just going to reload and drive. Perfect. Get a bounce. Another nice pen into his vehicle already. That's quite a big chunk we've taken off of his tank, and we're not done yet. We're going to go for another big chunk. Okay, well, Maybe not. Maybe my luck is going to be bad here. But wiggle, 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 and there you go. Nice bounce. Nice 572 tap into that player as well. I mean, we're doing a pretty good job here. I'm holding off the basically entirety of the enemy team. Unfortunately, we got tracked again, which is pretty unfortunate, but we're doing a very, very solid job in this situation. I also got the 183 covering for me, which is pretty good news all on its own there. And yeah, we've done a very good job, in my opinion, just covering. There you go. That guy fired, which means now we can hopefully just dry. Okay, could you stop tracking me? Like, I know he's got no shells left, but he just keeps tracking me. This is one of the things that is irritating about TDs, is just being tracked in general. It's something that is very commonplace. But let's just keep pushing. We'll push past the 50B because, yeah, my 50B is going to clear him. And oh my god. Oh my god. He's literally not even bending us. He's just tracking us. Alright, bud. You want to go? I was going to... Oh my god. We might actually die here. Okay. Well, I'm going to go for the standard B because just getting tracked constantly is probably the most annoying thing about these tanks. And, well, wouldn't you know it, but I'm probably going to be track pulling around this corner here. But, oh, buddy, you have put yourself in my favorite situation. The situation of not being able to be penning me. And don't worry, I will definitely pen you. Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. Goodbye. Oh, my. All right, well, I'm happy now. We were able to clear the annoyance. And with that, we were able to deal over 3,000 damage. Now, are we going to... Never mind. Never mind. I was going to say, are we going to be able to get one more shell out? But it turns out the 183 existed on our team, so I guess not. Either way, not a bad game at all. As you can see, the Badger did a pretty good job. We did 3454 damage and was able to block 1710. This vehicle's armor is really good, even on flat ground, as long as you angle it like I did. But do keep in mind that those track wheels can become a nuisance, and... yeah, they were a pretty big nuisance that game. We got absolutely tracked beyond belief. And that's one thing in general that the AT series struggles with. Look at the size of the track links compared to this tank's. I mean, not only is this vehicle's tracks kind of behind the hull, but look at just how much the Badger's tracks stick out compared to that lower plate it has compared to the 263. That is one of the big disadvantages you have to be careful about, is when driving around corners with the Badger, it's almost guaranteed you're going to be tracked. Thankfully, because the armor was buffed, you don't really get penned when you're tracked, but it still is a bit painful when an autoloader gets your track wheel, like that 50B or the standard B, that you are in a pretty poor situation. And that's one thing you really got to be careful with. But I still think that the Badger is a better vehicle. Now, if you want my opinion on which one I enjoy more and which one I would rather have if I could only have one of these two, it would be the 263. I think the 263 is more fun, and it can be more effective in certain games. The first battle we played in the 263 showed a perfect example where there's no way we would have had enough mobility in the Badger to do that amount of damage. And that's just the great thing about the 263 is being able to put that DPM into the front line. Where the Badger, it gets to the front line, but it doesn't really get out of the front line, you know? You just kind of put it in that one position, and you're not able to do much else. I think that, honestly, in that game we played, the 263 still could have dealt more damage because of the fact that it would have been able to push faster onto that standard B, push faster onto the enemy opponents, wouldn't have been tracked, but that's just how I see it. Either way, let me know in the comments down below what you think about both of these vehicles. At the end of the day, the 263 is free, and if you don't own the Badger, I'd highly suggest to get it, and the Badger costs money, so the 263 wins every single day. 263 is a frontal beast, which is very good at mobility, and the Badger is a hull-down beast. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!